before we come around this table, because today as we break bread, this is why we focus on the first Sunday of each month, for a time when we focus on the table, when Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And regardless of your pain, your suffering, of what you're going through, I pray that you too would turn and see Jesus. Already this morning in one big church, Rana had opportunity to pray for, and we believe that young ones were healed, amen, from different faiths, different backgrounds. That is our goal, is that Muslims, Hindus, atheists will have their eyes opened and they will see Jesus. In the book of Revelation, we see a glimpse of the splendor of Jesus, of his majesty and his power. You might be going through hardship. It could be sickness, it could be pain. Your hardship could be caused by confusion or disappointment. But this morning that you'd fix your eyes on Jesus and look full in his wonderful face. Look to him and see who he is, what he has done for you, and what he will do for you. It was in the midst of persecution, in a season of confusion, that John was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. He was in a position to hear from God. He said, "I was in the Spirit." And that's a good place to be in, friend. Where you are in your season of life, good or bad, it's good to be in the Spirit, amen. Those who are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. He was in a place called Patmos. The environment wasn't too good for him. It was not a nice place. But isn't it true that the condition of my environment around me does not determine if I am in the Spirit? It's the condition of my heart. That's what matters. It's like Paul and Silas. They were in prison. But the condition of their heart that night was to sing praises unto God. And what happened? A release. So it's not the environment, it's the condition of our heart that will determine our worship and our praise. What happened when John was in the Spirit? Well, God started to talk. It was loud, but it was awesome. Verse 10, we read, "I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last." We read in verse 12, "Then I turned to see the voice that spoke with me." When God speaks, it's important that we are obedient and we listen and we turn. It's important when God speaks into our lives, we don't just carry on doing the same old. There will be change, there will be transformation when God speaks. John had to turn. The voice was behind him. It would have been easier if the voice was in front of him, but he had to turn. This was not just another Sunday. This was a Sunday that John would always remember. John was an old man living in a prison on the island of Patmos, exiled for preaching Jesus. His dad was poor, hard labor. He had lost his friends. Most of them were martyred. Life was not too good. But in the midst of his pain and suffering, Jesus appeared to him. Notice, however, what didn't happen. Jesus didn't come and bring John a mattress. Jesus didn't come and spread a table of food. He didn't miraculously lift John off the island of Patmos. But what happened was far better. The Spirit revealed Jesus. And that is what you want. As we come around this table, wherever we are in our lives, we want to see Jesus. You can hear John saying, "Oh, my life is miserable. But I ask not for sympathy, not for help, just give me Jesus." And listen, as we conclude, listen to how John described Jesus, whom he saw that day. He said, I turned to see the voice that spoke with me. And having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands in the midst. You see, Jesus in the midst of his church. Amen. And he gives a description of the Son of Man clothed with a garment down to his feet. You see, it is no wonder John, at the end of this experience, fell down on his feet and he worshipped Jesus. Won't we do the same? When we see Jesus, we will fall down on our feet and we will worship him. See, Christ is the source of all our strength. It's in him we live, move, and have our being. And I believe if we are to experience his peace and joy in our lives, regardless of where we are on our journey, we need a fresh glimpse of Jesus. You see, we could preach the best sermons. We could teach you all for hours and hours, but unless you see Jesus, you will not be transformed. You need to see him. Someone said people under pressure don't need encouraging. They need an authentic, greater vision of who Jesus is. And John, in the midst of his difficulties, is encouraged to understand that it is God who's in control. It is God who sits on a throne. Note, Jesus is not distant, but he's walking among the lampstands. The lampstands speak of the church. He's in charge. Not me, not Rana, not the elders, no one else. He's in charge, amen. Listen, we read in verse 13, he was clothed with a garment down to his feet. The clothing described here was not the garment of a priest, but of a king. And Jesus is not only our priest interceding for us, but Jesus is our king, amen, reigning. And thank God he's coming back as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But he reigns. Even in death, he reigns. His head and his hair were like wool, as white as snow. John's vision of Jesus reveals his eternal glory and purity. Jesus is perfect. He is our righteousness. He is Ancient of Days, who is and who is to come. In our culture, we look at gray hair and we want to dye it all. I know my boys kept saying, Dad, you should try that just for men. Never did, never will. But in Eastern culture, gray hair was a badge of honor and a symbolic of wisdom. That's why I've kept mine. You and I too, Jackie. See, Jesus is altogether lovely. He is the bright and morning star. He is the lily of the valley, amen. He is altogether perfect, righteous, and wise. He is Ancient of Days. That is who we worship. His eyes are like a flame of fire. There is nothing hid from his sight. He sees all things. That is our Jesus. His feet like brass. Brass speaks of strength. You see, our God is not only all-loving and merciful, but our God is almighty. Understand that. He is all-powerful. Nothing is impossible with our God. This is the God we worship. His voice is the voice of many waters. He speaks with power and authority. And John not only gives us a description of Jesus, but he explains something of his work. He loved us and washed us from our sin. He has made us kings and priests unto our God. He is coming back again. He has the keys of death and Hades. Amen. He rose again. We could go on and on and on, but we say amen and amen. Oh, that we would see Jesus. And that's what I want you to see this morning as you break bread. You may be going through a situation in your life. It's hard, it's difficult, but God is in control. Do not forget your God is in control. The reason why we break bread is because we want to make a declaration till he come. Jesus said, take, eat. This is my body which is broken for you. Eat in remembrance of me till I come. As often as you do this, you what? You declare. It was Chakudi who highlighted that when he spoke here the last time. The importance of making that declaration. When you eat of the bread and when you drink of the cup, you will make a declaration that he has provided everything that you need, which is sufficient. Amen? Now, I understand it's not transubstantiation. It's just a piece of bread. It's just a bit of wine. There's nothing mysterious about this bread or this cup. But nevertheless, by faith, we are making a declaration what he has done is sufficient for me. That's what we're saying. And so whatever your need this morning is, as the bread is brought round and as you drink of the cup, you declare, Lord, you are all that I need. Strengthen me. You are Jesus in control. Help me. Help me. Strengthen me. Heal me. Give me the strength that I need. So when you take of that bread and as you take of that cup, you make a declaration. Amen.